Are we doing a podcast?
We're talking about
We're
food
trying.
and getting sweaty.
We're talking about food and getting sweaty. That's
She literally.
Also,
That's the name of the
podcast name now.
She just named
Talking
it.
food,
Like,
getting sweaty.
Hello, Podwalkers, and welcome to another episode of Goblin Lore. This episode covers our first foray into talking about cosplay in the Magic community. That's designing and wearing costumes based on characters in a certain fandom. We get to talk to two really great cosplayers in this episode, but one thing that you'll need to know about this is that there is a lot of overhead and outside noise that gets recorded into this episode because we actually recorded in the event hall for the GP Minneapolis. Also, this is going to be a slightly shorter episode than usual because we just really ran all the way through this. It was such a fast and furious recording that we covered everything so quick. So please don't feel like there's a lot of stuff missing. This was a really short recording episode, but we covered so much content because of Sydney and Olivia's incredible energy and passion for what they do, and so we're super grateful about that. One other brief piece of news that we're super excited to announce before we get to the show is that recently Goblin Lore Podcast decided to join on with the Geek Therapy Network. Geek Therapy celebrates how geek culture can save the world through podcasts, videos, blog posts, community outreach, education, and convention appearances. This network of mental health professionals, professional geeks, amateur geeks, mental health amateurs, and many more people in general talk about the positive applications of video games and other staples of geek culture as a way to address our own mental well-being and social well-being. So we're very excited to have been invited to join this group, and we look forward to working with them and partnering with the Geek Therapy Network. Without any further ado, let's get to the show.
Hello, Podwalkers, and welcome to another episode of the Goblin Lore. Today we're coming to you from the last day of GP Minneapolis. We are actually on the event floor for the first time in a couple days, which is pretty sweet. And even more awesome is we are sitting across the table from two cosplayers here, and we're going to have you introduce yourselves in just a second. But first, as we do with every episode, I want you to also introduce yourselves with a little bit of a question and where listeners can find you on Twitter. The question is, which character or which creature from Magic the Gathering would you have back you up in a fight? Who's your second?
Hi, it's Olivia Gobert-Hicks. I'm at Gobert-Hicks, Goberthicks on Twitter. I would clearly have my main, Liliana, back me up in a fight because that's a lot of dead stuff, and I'm about that. Well, I didn't say, weird. I just meant, there's a lot more dead things to fight for.
all right. I am Sydney, also known as @TabbyTailClaws. So I almost said .com. I have a flippin' website. I have the foresight to make that spelled. You can find me on Twitter. I'm also on Tumblr, but I mostly just use that as a repository for pictures. Please don't add me on Twitter. You can't even. No, you add me on Twitter. Don't add me on Tumblr. So my second obviously is the OG, the original Firemind, Niv Mizzet, because who else would you really pick? Also, Wizards, if anything happens to my boy Niv Mizzet when we come back to Ravnica, I am burning all of my cards and quitting the game.
You're not, but
I'm holding myself ransom. For all of the import that I have in this community, which is basically none, I'm holding myself ransom. If anything happens to Niv Mizzet, I will make that screech that I made earlier just into eternity. Enter the...
outside of the band topside at Wizards with a giant megaphone and just Raptor scream as long as you can.
Forever.
Until Niv Mizzet.
I am HobbsQ. I can be found on Twitter @HobbsQ. For me, if I was going to be going into battle, I think pretty highly of myself, so I'm having Norin the Wary back me up. And by back me up, I mean I'm running with him, and we're getting out of there.
So he can back you up by being behind you.
Right.
You literally back you.
You swim faster as long as you're not the slowest swimmer. When the sharks are coming, you're not the slowest runner.
I was growing up in Southern California, even though we hiked in the Sierras, the greatest area in the world.
Thank you.
It was always, you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than your friends.
Right, yeah. Exactly. You don't have to be faster than the Leonin, you just have to be faster than Prof.
You're making this... Wow. You know, when we were in Vegas, he did make it up those stairs pretty damn fast.
I think I could outrun him though if I had.
I think so.
Right, and I'm Alex Stupin at Alexander New M.
Please love us.
And I don't know. I probably go with someone to back me up. I think could handle most things. One of my favorite commanders, maybe Kozilek. If I could handle reality warping around me. I mean, he does have. He also, one of his wardens has one of the greatest names in any Magic card, Warden of Geometries, which is just amazing.
That is really good.
So I
It's
think
not just strength, that's also mental dexterity. I like that.
And
you come across an
annihilator.
algebra problem,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I mean, what
Son.
is this fight?
Son.
Math might fundamentally change if Kozilek attaches himself to an algebra problem.
However,
the world might just shift.
I mean,
Geometry is no
I am
longer
now
what we know as
picturing
geometry.
Alex
It's
fighting
fine.
like Einstein, Newton, and like Stephen Hawking.
And I am your host, Joe Redeman. You can find me on Twitter at Fyndhorn. That's Fynd Horn. And I'm gonna go simple. I'm not even gonna pick like a named character. I'm going real OG. I'm going real OG here. You guys are running from the bear. I'm taking grizzly bears.
Hey.
2-2-2. Sun. Let's do it.
Just saying, if you're looking for grizzly bears, there's plenty of clubs in Minneapolis you can find yourself.
I don't even know how to transition that one, and I'm bad at transitions anyways, so
This is
we're
when
not
you
gonna
put some
try.
of the food talk in for
Right, we're just gonna do.
We'll splice it.
talk about meat sweats.
So we've got you guys on today, and we're super happy to have you here to talk about your craft, to talk about cosplay, because it is such a vital and very visible part of the culture of Magic. I think, you know, to me, it's cosplay and it's the artists that are really the upfront, you know, sort of visual. This is how you can be stunned coming into seeing some of the work that you guys do. And so I wanted to, I guess, just start by asking you guys, how do you decide which characters you want to cosplay as? What's the process by figuring out, yep, this card really appeals to me, or this character appeals to me? I know, Olivia, you were saying you don't read through the stories as much.
I'm still fairly new to the whole, like, getting into the lore and actually cosplaying. And this is, I would argue, probably still the first actual year I've done this. So I'm only 4 deep as far as cosplays go. But that being said, for me, this art looks really cool. Will people recognize this? Can I do this? Those are kind of the 3 things I ask myself. When I'm looking through cards, when I'm looking through stuff that gets...
When that last question doesn't seem to matter much, because you looked at a track sign and you're just like, down, gonna do it.
So listen, I mean, we all make mistakes, and then we commit to those mistakes and double down even though we should quit.
I have 4 Jace costumes. I know about committing to the mistake.
Yes. Sometimes you see things and you decide, maybe I can next level, and then you start, and maybe I can't, but you're going to do it anyway. But it's going to look cool, and people will recognize it. So I got 2 out of 3, so it's going to be, it's fine. It's feasible. That's part of the adventure. That's the journey I get to take, is how competent am I really? And the answer is shockingly adequate. So to finish on that, I usually end up, as I'm starting the character, trying to find more lore on them, and I keep ending up with commanders that have no real backstory, so just kind of show up and walk around.
Well, if you played fair commanders, then...
That's, yeah. But I don't, so why?
Exactly.
Why bother?
So in my case, my first Magic costume that I dug into was Jace. So obviously I don't make good decisions, and I just pick the character that I think people are going to hate the most, and I make 4 versions of him. It's hilarious because when you cosplay,
you quadruple down.
When you cosplay Jace, you either get people coming up to you and you get that odd person who's like, "Oh man, I love Jace. Mind Sculptor's my favorite. I'm gonna oh, can I get a picture with you doing cool stuff?" So you meet like one of those, and then you meet 9 more people who are like, "Oh man, Jace, I hate you so much. Can I get a selfie with you?" And it's wonderful, and I like the other people far more because if people like Jace, you're like, "All right, you're an interesting human being." Whereas if people hate Jace, you're like, "Yeah, man, I'm down. I hate myself. I'm in character as Jace already." Like, it's great. My favorite thing to do when I cosplay Jace is to take selfies with garbage cans and be like, "I found this other great Jace cosplayer." So I have 4 Jace costumes, and that's what I started.
Anytime there's a garbage can in the shot, the whole joke is,
do
"Oh,
it.
Jace is here
Jace
too."
is in the costume. Jace is in the shot. It's great.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, and I wonder too. You mentioned a little bit about Jace starts. In the lore, Jace is canonically a male, presenting character, but you decided to do. Did you do Jace as just Jace? Did you gender bend Jace? Like, what's that process of going through that?
Well, that's a super great question. So I personally did Jace as male. I did Jace as a dude, and I looked at a whole lot of drag queens and kings and how they did their makeup, and Which is another fun fact for y'all who are keeping track at home. Fun fact. I wear more makeup as Jace than I do as any other character, unless I'm body painting myself. Even arguably, Jace might have more makeup on him than Nahiri, to be honest. Because when I take Nahiri off and I wash off all the white paint, I get this like raccoon smudgy eye stuff, and that's basically what I do for Jace anyway. But yeah, I do Jace as a dude, but I'm also pretty short, and my voice is relatively high, unless I'm remembering to do the vocal fry that we're going to get pinged on for the internet, because everybody hates women who do vocal fry on podcasts. But yeah, as soon as I open my mouth, people are like, "Oh yeah, you're a chick." But it is fun because every once in a while, pictures of Jace will show up on 4chan, and people will be like, "Look at this Jace guy, he's so short." And I'm like, "Joke's on you, dude. I'm a lady, but this is hilarious. You do you, bad parts of the internet." But yeah, I really think that one of the nice things about cosplay is that there's kind of a niche for everybody, and that you should do whatever you feel comfortable with. So I wanted to do Jace as a dude, but there's plenty of people who have done Jace and just like taken the aesthetic of it. So they've taken the blue, they've taken the kind of the patterns and done a gender bend. Eternal Arnell has a great female, like very obviously like gender bended lady Jace, and it's super good. Another friend of ours, Erin, who is in Canada. What's her handle? Erin Adams. But our friend Erin Adams did a amazing gender bent Garuk, where she took she took the coat, the Innistrad coat, and she made it very obviously like a feminine cut, and I did this wonderful wig for her. I got to like Frankenstein 4 wigs into one, and I took an industrial heat gun to it, so those braids are never coming out. And it's really neat because, especially from Magic, you have kind of this interesting thing.
Sick. That is awesome.
I'm showing them.
Yeah.
It almost looks like, we're showing, if you guys can share that, because then we'll post it, but I'm just thinking, I was like, oh, everybody, we're looking at this great photo right now.
Oh, it's hella sweet.
She really looks almost like Brave. Like, it really kind of has that great
A lot of people,
she
she wanted the wig inspired by, I almost said Lovisa, and it's not Lovisa.
Oh,
but,
sure.
It's the lady from the Vikings TV show. So the badass wife of the main character.
Okay.
That's how she kind of wanted the cool Viking braids.
Sick.
So I just went to town on her wig, and it was really fun. But I like the way that Magic, because the community kind of has this jumping point of cosplay isn't like the focus, but everyone recognizes the character so much, and everyone has these ties to the cards, and it's literally some people's jobs to make sure that they know every card in the set. So even if you do pick something kind of niche, people probably will know who you are, even if you gender bend it and take it a different way. So like Nissa Cosplay has that crazy awesome bolus too that she did, and then Anyo Serra, who is a Brazilian cosplayer who's absolutely wonderful. She did a really cool kind of like lady take on Bolus for GP Sao Paulo. And it's really neat. And I know I'm doing all those things where I'm saying probably like 90 times and really and very and blah 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 whatever. Fight me, at me on Twitter. Not on Tumblr or Twitter, but Twitter. So it's really cool. You can take the parts that you like and you can dig your heels into whatever parts you like, and you can make it your own, which is fantastic.
And the cool thing with what Ysera did too is she didn't transform herself into a dragon. She is a person Bolus.
Yeah.
And it looks awesome, and you know exactly what she's doing, exactly who she's cosplaying, exactly what she's going for, and she didn't have to like make dragon snoot mask or anything like that. She's just
it's like a goblin snoot mask. That's what it was like.
But it was basically just a bitchin' pair of horns, and it was great.
Question that just occurred to me that's not on the list, but do you cosplay with other communities, and do you know kind of how that differs between Magic cosplay and other fandoms?
Yeah, so I'm one of the garbage anime con kids, and every once in a while I find one of my convention badges from like 2004, and I'm like, holy hell, I'm old. But it's fantastic. It's very different, I would say, because the focus of Magic is not cosplay. It's this game that people come here and they try to like spike a tournament, or they come here.
To be fair, we actually play Magic too.
Oh, we do. Yeah, I know how to play. Don't ask me if I know how to play Magic. I do. I mean, I'm not good at it, but I know.
I have actually seen Twitter post about EDH, and you both actually seem a little bit spiky to me.
Cyclonic Rift is totally a fair card, and if it ever gets banned, I'm quitting.
To be fair, it's not even the first thing that needs to be banned.
No, it's not. But Magic is really interesting because there isn't really a huge cosplay community, so we all know each other. It's literally like, it's not even 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation. It's literally like, oh, look, I know that person who's in that costume, and I know exactly what she's wearing and why and what her name is and everything about her.
Are you referencing to an actual person right now? Can you just put your hands up and
Nissa cosplays walking around with her fantastic shalai.
I mean, you are Jaya, so I never know what you're really doing there. It could be anything.
It's true. It could be. It could be anything. So it's really cool. And then the nice thing is there's not a whole lot of cosplayers, but we all know. But it's really cool because there's a ton of source material since we have the wonderful art that Magic does.
Right.
There's so much art, and we also have a pretty good line to all the artists. So one of the things in Magic that's super different from any other thing is I can literally shoot Magali an email and ask her for reference photos, and she'll give them to you. So like for when April King did her amazing old Jaya, so I'm young Jaya right now, and April did the new Jaya. She was in touch with Magali asking her how to make things and how to do this, and because we have this kind of small insular community, that's not something you can do with anime. Like you can't just like randomly like be like, dear Funimation, please tell me how to make this. You can, because also 90 million other people would do the same thing, and you know somebody on China would get it and they'd be mass producing it. So you can't do that, but with Magic, you can, and it's absolutely fantastic. The other cool thing is you have so many different characters, and we all kind of know each other. So we usually try to, not that it's really cool to see how other people did the same character that you do. So obviously, like Nadine whipped out her Joy Run in like a week because she's a mad woman and she's insanely talented. Nissa cosplay is insanely talented. She whipped out her Joy Run in like a week and a half, and then I had like a month to make mine, and I saw all the ways that Nadine did hers. So I'm like, actually, now that I have this other art and I know how Nadine did hers and how that looks, I'm gonna do it this other way.
Nice.
And so you end up with totally different takes on the same character. And then since we all know each other too, we usually coordinate and make sure, like, it doesn't really matter if anybody's the same character on the same day, because then that just means you get to take sweet Dragon Ball Z fusion pictures. But when we're all together, we can usually be like, hey, who's wearing what, and how do we want to do this? Do we want everybody to be somebody else so that we have the like full suite of like the Gatewatch or like whatever in a place at the same time? So
I know that for me, when not this year, but last year at Vegas when we had the art show, it was really nice to see how all the cosplayers that were there did that coordination, and I was able.
Well, that was in part due to both Moxie and Mike Linneman.
Yeah,
they
do a great job, and I love seeing Moxie kind of take the lead and like get this going. I'd love to see the coordination that you guys have. Because today, like you said, you guys will think about what costume I'm going to wear what day to the con. I also appreciate the multiple versions of the same character because we're a lot about perspectives on the show because we talk about how to bring lore into the real world.
Sure.
And one of the things that we've talked about is even taking the same Magic card with different art and what the difference that can make.
It is really, really fun to see how people do different stuff. And it's like a classic example that I always use is I ran up to Ashlyn at, I ran up to Ashlyn at Vegas last year, and it's funny because all of the Nahiri cosplayers have the same pair of Amazon pants. Like we all bought the same stretch leather.
That's amazing.
From the same buyer?
I don't know.
Because that would be awesome. They're like, why?
It might have been because we were all making them at the same time. So yeah, right when those came out, between when she was announced for Shadows of Innistrad. So we all were buying like the same pair of, we all have the same ones. It's hilarious. Is
there just like a cosplay bulk service then that you guys can set up and like, come on.
But the other really cool thing about knowing everyone in the Magic community is you just like run up to somebody and you're like, does somebody have thread or does somebody have tape like this broke or like I need a wig styled? I was doing Jace the hair sculptor in Vegas in 2017. I was just like, all right guys, this is my hotel room. If you need help with wigs, just show up, and everybody did. So I was doing Jace as the Jason Sahili's hair salon because we were the two who knew how to do wigs. So everyone just came to us and we fixed everybody's wigs. It was like awesome. 5 or 6 in a row. And it's this really great little community that we have, and it's delightful.
When we talk about, there can be different versions of the same character at the same event. I think a little bit. I come at a lot of this from an acting standpoint. I used to be a theater person, and I wonder for you guys how much of it is performance of a character versus presentation, and does that, if you are at an event with another Jaya or another Nissa or whoever, is that do you guys try to reconcile that with people that come up to you, or like do you just go with it and you're like, yeah, we exist in the same timeline?
Well, they changed the legend rules, so as long as we're under different control of players, then we're fine and we can all be on the field at the same time. But it's really up to the individual person. Most of us aren't really in a character or as a character unless we're prompted to. I find that people don't necessarily respond to you like randomly coming up to somebody like as Jaya in character and making like an obnoxious joke unless you're prompted to. I don't really like to do that because not everybody jams with that. Some people aren't about cosplay at all, and they're just here to play the cards and to win their tournament or to try to do as well in their tournament as they can, and that's awesome because Magic has a little bit of something for everybody. So I'm not going to insert like my part of the community into your experience unless you want me to. So if you come up to me and people have asked you, they're like, hey, will you like be in this like Snapchat? I don't have Snapchat, but people do. So people will be like, I have the youths. They have their Snapchat. And they're like, will you do like a Jaya line in the Snapchat or whatever? And I am 100% about that. So it's really
more flavor text.
Well, Jaya's flavor text is the best. Though. It really is.
It's also usually like a word or two long. That's easy.
Or again, it's like that Jace thing where people love to hate on Jace. So I'm all about being hated on as Jace if I'm dressed as Jace. Like if I'm dressed as Jace and you want to come up and tell me about your bad beat that you had because of Mind Sculptor or whatever, like I'm about it, man. It's fine. Like Jace had a lot of bad beats in his whole life, so it's fine. So yeah,
it's the welcome to the pity party.
It's really whatever people want to do. And I know some cosplayers really aren't so comfortable doing the acting portion. Like they're really about the craft. Like Jin, who you guys will be talking to later. Jin is a master worker. She is a craftswoman. She's incredibly talented. She's far, far and away better than just about all of the rest of us. And that's what Jin does. Jin wants to make something beautiful. Whereas I want to put this costume on and ham it up and dance around and be ridiculous. We need both. And that's what I mean. We need both. So we do need both. I'm hammy enough for everybody else.
Is that the same for you? Do you feel how much of the craft do you feel is presentation versus performance for you?
I'm here on craft.
Nice.
Like craft is my jam. Even if someone asked me to get in character, I'd be like, that's a great question. And you should ask someone who knows what they're doing. I made some neat stuff. I want to wear some neat stuff, and you'll recognize it, and we can both have a great time and share that moment, and then we walk away or play a game of Commander and call it a day. So, and it's not for not liking it or wanting to be interested in it. I got so busy with making more stuff that I forgot to read about it. But no, for me, it's the craft stuff that is really what I'm into. It's a nice creative outlet for me that is an added, value add to the game I'm so into and can contribute a little more to it and just sit around and be like, I make stuff. I love making stuff. It's iconic, correct? So.
I make stuff, I destroy stuff.
Return all your stuff.
Return
stuff. I'm sorry. I don't mean to stigmatize. We like to talk about the actual game, and the stuff that you guys do in relation to the game. We also always try to pull it out to a little bit more of that meta stuff and thinking about how we can take things that we've learned or things that you guys deal with, in doing your craft into stuff to impact our daily lives. And I think that's, there are really relevant occurrences that have happened with the cosplay community in recent years that, we need to learn from. And I don't know that we need to reference any specific thing, but
I think
it goes without saying. But there's been a lot of really terrible treatment of cosplayers and objectification. And so I'm curious for you guys, how do you deal with that? How do you process that, or how do you try to, both for yourself and also helping, be ambassadors of the craft? How do you say this is, plant your flag, this is what cosplay is and why it's important?
Well, why cosplay is important right now is I'm dressed as Jaya Ballard, Task Mage, and right before we were filming this, I actually ran away because there was a 7-year-old child who was so excited to meet me because her name is Jaya, and she got to get a picture with me, and we did the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance, and her face lit up, and she has no idea what the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance is, but this 7-year-old child lit up, and she got to have that experience. And if for nothing else, and there's plenty of other things in cosplay, but if for nothing else, that is worth all of my time that I put into making this costume.
I think for me, how do I put up with anything? I've fortunately escaped most of the vitriol online, but I use my block button liberally on Twitter. I don't have time. If you don't like my stuff, then it's not for you. Move along. I really don't understand how that's a difficult concept. Like, again, that's just me.
There's
mostly
space enough on the internet for everything. Well, there's your problem. You're reasonable.
I know. I apologize.
Weirdly,
I tried.
Average level treatment of humans is.
I mean, I at least try to issue that out, so it's when you have it, like someone comment something distasteful. I just block them. I don't respond. It's not worth my time. Like, if their whole life goal is to talk trash on the internet, I have better things to do with my life. So for me, that's not really something I try to let myself get caught up into, but on occasion I do find it. No, because it is a real thing. It's something that maybe you and I haven't had to put up with, certainly to a degree of certain other members of our community. So as far as that, I just personally, I don't need to I don't internalize it too much if people say trashy stuff, so I just block them and move on because I have no time for that.
Well, we've talked a couple times on the cast about personal wellness and self health, and I think that's a good way to process it. And whether you're part of the cosplay community or anybody who's being
if you're not
bullied on Twitter,
black-hearted like Sid and I, it's okay if it does sting because
black-hearted and dead.
Someone is literally trying to attack you for no discernible reason, or certainly anything that's worthwhile or being attacked over. So for that reason, I mean, it's okay to not feel good about it. You don't have to be stone-faced like Sid and I, or anybody else who is particularly apt at handling it, or seems like they handle it well. Like, don't pile on yourself even more for feeling bad if someone comes at you. Just do what you got to do to take care of yourself, and if that means removing yourself, if that means blocking people, then do it. Big deal. I mean, you don't know them, they don't know you, and they're just trying to not be great.
The mute and the block button exists for a reason.
They are so wonderful. They're beautiful, beautiful things. But yeah, I think with the taking it in stride and being okay with how things go, is you're doing this for you. You shouldn't be doing it for anybody else. Like, I do this because I enjoy it. It's a super added awesome bonus that other people get something out of it too. Want to take pictures, want to engage, can derive enjoyment from it. But for me, I'm doing this for me, and if I stop,
it's for you.
It's for me.
Yeah.
And one of the other things too is at events like this, the response is overwhelmingly far and above 100% positive. Everybody in person, when they see a Johnny walking around, or the two of us dressed as the hot messes that we are.
And we excel at hot mess.
That's my specialty.
No giant pun intended?
No.
Zero.
The response in person at these events is overwhelmingly positive. People are
100% not like what the internet responds.
Oh well, it's almost like the same people who want to pick a fight on the internet don't care to do it in person.
Well, I do have one just like small question. I know you guys have donated so much of your time.
This has been delightful.
We love this.
I know we have not made it through all the show notes, so by all means.
Oh, I think we actually are doing pretty well in the show notes.
Okay, but I did a lot of talking.
We did talk. You might want to splice this back in earlier because I was unfortunately stuck in late. But
I did the same thing. It's fine.
But anyways, when we were talking about kind of that idea of like how much do you cosplay in character versus representation just visually of character, I'm wondering for each of you, and if you guys covered this, I apologize, but is there a character that do you feel that you're in that character when you're cosplaying? Because I know that both of you talked about doing a wide range of characters.
Sure, that's a great question. Well, I just Joyra is just me. That's just me. And part of it might be because I was in Frost's video, so I got to do that wonderful thing.
Also, your face is every Joyra art ever.
Yeah,
there's attention of literally anyone.
There's the conspiracy that I was the face grab for the Joyra art. I was not, guys. It's conspiracy.
You were just
bam, debunked.
I just might happen to be there. Yeah, whatever. But I guess through the wonders of the internet and YouTube, I guess I just kind of got to set the frame of reference for Joyra just being everybody's time water on. So I guess I love being Joyra. I love being Nahiri. It's great to be Nahiri. I make a lot of snide comments about vampires being chucked into walls.
And then you throw packs
to the window, to the wall. fine.
Well, at least she didn't go any further than that because
No,
once
we're-
again, it is a
this is
family
a family podcast.
Literally, the next line.
I assure
would've
you, I
been-
don't know what the other ones
Oh,
are.
good. See,
There's no
perfect.
other
Family
line. There's
family
no other
podcast.
lines in that song. But I mean, it is kind of fun to be when you're Jace. This is a PSA for anyone who's ever thinking about cosplaying Jace. Do not cosplay Jace unless you have a very thick skin and you're being willing to be the butt of every single joke.
You need to start walking people over to trash cans and be like, let's do between two Jaces. You can get a selfie in the middle.
Yeah, if you cosplay Jace, you're gonna be the butt of every single joke. I can tell you that right now.
I mean,
because I've been there.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get into character because again, I'm much more here for the visual presentation / the craft of it. If I were to say anything, it would be Liliana, but more like the party side of Lily. Like,
The drinking the wine out of the straw,
it's
Liliana.
the YOLO. I got
the skull, yeah. Full
It's the
blood.
YOLO. This is all gonna work out for me in the end, sort of thing. Like I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna do it. So that would probably be my thing for that. Is just a little more party, a little more haughty, arrogant, saucy, snide remark sort of thing. But certainly not the brooding. I'm just gonna like annihilate everyone because you guys are annoying me. I mean, I feel that way a lot of the time, especially behind the wheel. But I should really wear my hat when I'm driving.
Should.
That would be super unfair. Just be like, watch me kill you.
Just pull up to the stop sign, look over, exchange glances,
Oh yeah, and pure dirt look too. Like, why are you existing?
eyes flash purple, and they speed away.
I gotta get some LEDs in my car.
Fight me. Well, this has been absolutely awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Do we need to talk about meat some more?
Yeah, well, that's
yeah,
going to
the
be our
final- the
outro
final meat
question.
question.
Yeah, what is our
do
outro- our
you want
meat
to bring it
outro?
up? I mean, this was
No,
your
it's-
guys'.
it's
The
good.
metro.
The metro?
The metro.
Yes. Well, so, okay.
That was more the intro. 'Cause we met and we talked about meat, and it was
Yeah.
the intro.
Which magic creature
Okay,
would you
Google.
eat? Hoof, fin, or wing?
Oh God, there's so many. Okay, Google. Show me magic creatures. This is not going to work out.
And you can just do creature type too. Like it doesn't have to be specific.
Look at this. It gives me a whole paragraph. It says magical creatures in Harry Potter. This is not what I asked for.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm literally jumping in just before anybody else can say it.
Yeah.
It's Beebles.
Oh,
They
yeah.
literally have a recipe
Sauté.
in Magic, in
Yeah.
Sauté, in
Yeah.
the Underworld cookbook. So I know for a fact that Beebles are good and they burst in your mouth.
Not in your hand.
Family friendly podcast.
Podcast.
Oh, we're talking about M&Ms.
Family podcast.
I think I'd go Feldegriff steaks, right? Because then you get hoof and wing. I feel like
That's not bad.
a little,
That's double.
wind and turf, yeah.
See, I want to say hedron crab, but the flavor text for that is too good because the hedrons perplex minds both great and small, which
Yeah, crabs are delicious though. I mean, I'm
are.
also
Also
considering chimeras because then you get a little bit of everything. Like chimeras
yeah.
or cockatrice, because then it's a little bit of
Stuff I like
everything.
I
metal
was thinking the Civic
Oh.
have a lot of things that blur some lines, like maybe some shambles.
Like
go.
sharktopus.
Wait,
Shamble
no,
shark soup?
stop. Can I do what's the
No.
amoeba with the scary face? The
Amoeba
changeling?
changeling?
friend? Yeah.
See, I was
I
thinking
want that one
changeling.
because then it's everything.
Changeling.
And whatever
That
I
was the
want it
answer.
to be.
That's soy.
That's
That's
what I
magic
need.
soy.
But meat.
But meat, but actual meat.
But actual,
actual
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I you know,
It's flesh
It's important
soy.
that it
I'm
was
also-
an animal.
We
Right.
also do have to
So
bring up.
amoeba changeling.
We do have to bring up the thalid and sapperling thing because they are also canonically eaten.
Yes.
And I
True.
love mushrooms. So.
That's okay. So you can go there. I'm doing amoeba
that's our
changeling.
vegetarian option.
yeah.
So yeah, that's your
They're
vegetarian
like
option.
sentient kind
because,
of though.
Because
So, but
the
it's,
amoeba changeling can be
Fine.
anything and it still has a face.
Yeah.
So I can actually get all of them covered.
It's funny because we were
Whatever I'm
actually
eating died screaming.
yesterday talking about the story of fallen empires, and that is an important part of the story of fallen empires. That
Right.
the thalids were made to be food, and then they kind of became sentient and decided they didn't like being eaten.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
It's very Animal Farm.
As you do.
That's our show. You can find the podcast at Goblin Lore Pod on Twitter, or you can email us any questions, comments, or concerns at goblinlorepodcast@gmail.com. Goblin Lore is a member of the Geek Therapy Network, which you can find at Geek Therapy on Twitter, and you can locate any of the other podcasts in the network at geektherapy.com. Sydney Stafl is on Twitter at Tappy Toe Claws. You can find Olivia Gobert-Hicks on Twitter at Gobert-Hicks. You can find Joe Redeman on Twitter at Findhorn. You can find Hobbs Q at Hobbs Q. And you can find Alex at Alexander New M. Thank you all for listening, and remember, goblins, like snowflakes, are only dangerous in numbers.